Hi friends, so don't freak out. I'm not quitting teaching yoga on YouTube. The title of this video was a little bit to catch your attention, but I am quitting teaching yoga at a couple of my slots that I've been teaching at in San Francisco for quite a long time now, and I wanted to make a video and talk a little bit about this. I'm cutting back a lot on my studio teaching here in San Francisco in order to be able to have more energy to produce content for YouTube, which I'm really excited about. But this brought up a lot of this process of kind of deciding what to do about teaching in my classes brought a lot up for me, and that's why I wanted to make this video to share with you. So when I was first getting into teaching yoga, my dream, and maybe this resonates with you if you're wanting to be a yoga teacher, was to teach in a studio, right? And to have people take my classes. And you know this if you visited my website and watched some of my other material, but I actually started teaching on YouTube because I was too scared and too shy to teach a class with real people in it. That seemed too intimidating. So one day I snuck up on my friend's roof and filmed a yoga sequence using a camera I stole from my work at the time, and I dubbed over the audio, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I threw it up on YouTube just because I thought it would be a way for me to practice my sequence and remember it. No idea what I was thinking. Of course, I got really addicted to posting YouTube videos, obviously, because here I am. But at that point in time, I felt like a fraud. I felt like someone who wasn't good enough to teach, who didn't have anything interesting to say that was different enough from everyone else. I was just really self-conscious, and another great teacher encouraged me to start teaching, and she let me give her a class in her home, and then I started giving other people classes in my home and got a little bit more warmed up. But my real vision was to be, a real yoga teacher who taught in studios. So if you're interested in teaching yoga in studios, or you're just considering yoga teacher training and you want to know a little bit more about how getting studio slots works, you must A, watch my free video about whether yoga teacher training is right for you, but B, consider purchasing my course about how to teach yoga in studios and the business side of yoga, because I put a lot of my heart and soul and personal experience into that, so people who were interested in a career in yoga could download it. And just to be clear, I still do a lot of other work that's not yoga related in order to make income. I'm still very much in a transition. I'm not a full-time yogi. With all that being said, I really worked the studio system here in San Francisco, and I started teaching at one studio, then I started teaching at another studio that was my dream studio to teach at that I thought would never hire me. I taught at then another studio where that teacher who was the huge mentor to me taught. So I worked and figured out a system that actually soon I was teaching so many studio slots, and then I got offered teaching at Equinox, and all of a sudden I was just saying yes to everything. And at the same time, YouTube had really risen up, and throughout this I'm working a full-time job. It was getting to be a lot, and some of you might know I also do body work. I practice something called myofascial release, so I also have private clients who come to see me for that. Anyway, it was really, really, really overwhelming. I knew I had to cut back on something, and this might resonate with you, especially if you're, kind of like ambitious overachiever type of person who likes to take a lot on or has difficulty saying no to people. I knew I had to cut something out, but I was in a good place in the sense that I really loved all the different things I was doing. So picking the thing to cut out was just a really painful process. Ultimately, my fiance and I just recently moved to a different apartment. So you've been seeing this new filming space, and if you are getting married yourself, please follow my Yoga Wedding Diaries series where I'm talking a lot about my upcoming wedding. The move took us a lot farther away from the favorite studio that I was teaching at 3 times a week at that point. And it breaks my heart still, because I wish I could do everything. I wish I could see my bodywork clients, my myofascial release clients. I wish I could teach on YouTube as much as I want to. I wish I could take class all the time myself and teach all the time myself and still have my other jobs. I really wish I could do everything, but I can't. And when I really looked at it, cutting out those extra classes was what I had to do in order to be able to produce more for YouTube and to also take care of me. And a big issue I had here was, I'm not a yoga teacher if I'm not teaching in studios all the time. And I think that's a myth that I developed. So to bring this back to you, right, and why I'm sharing is maybe look in your own lives as well and see kind of what myths are you telling yourself that just aren't true and aren't helpful, right? Because my confidence as a teacher and who I am shouldn't be based on how many studios I teach at or how many times a week. I mean, that is a data point, but for me to say I'm not a real teacher unless I'm teaching 5 times a week, 6 times a week, whatever, that's just a rule that's not helpful, right? Once I figured that out, I started to get really curious about why I was still commuting to the studio even though it was farther away, and still doing all these things even though I could tell it wasn't working so much in my life, because I do have a very clear vision about what I want to be doing, and it involves a lot of stuff online. It involves YouTube. So it's like I have the vision, I know this is the vision, I know the studio stuff doesn't fit in as much even though I love it. But why am I having such difficulty letting it go? And then bringing it back to you and yoga, right? This is really about attachment, right? I was very attached to those slots and those classes, and you might have something in your life where you're really attached and having a hard time letting go. And when I really looked at all the components, which I'd encourage you to do too, because it takes some soul searching, but what I realized was that I felt like I had really worked hard and earned those classes. Right? It was a huge milestone for me to be able to teach at the studio that I never thought I'd be good enough to teach at, and to teach there multiple times a week, no less, and have, great full classes. So to let something like that go brought up a lot of emotions, just because it was such a big thing for me to achieve and was so important to me personally. But what's really important to understand here, and again, why I'm sharing, is that just because it was a huge milestone and important to achieve doesn't mean that I need to keep doing it for the next 5 years, right? We change, we move on, we get attached to things, but right, yoga teaches us that attachment, it's really about non-attachment, right? Because things are fluid and should be fluid and are always changing. So I'm a different person now than I was then, and I have clearer goals about what I want to be doing. And even though it meant a lot now, it doesn't mean it's like now this backpack that I have to keep carrying, a couple years later if it's not serving me. So that was piece 1. And then piece 2 was realizing that I felt that the yoga scene, especially here in San Francisco, is so competitive. And I realized I had a hoarder mentality, like hoarders who keep tons of stuff in their house. Like I didn't want to let my classes go because I had fear that I would never get them back, or if I decided I did want to teach in a studio, that I would have lost my option, or I would have a black mark on me, or that I'd just be so quickly replaced. And then I realized that I was really coming from a mentality of lack, right? Like there's not a lot of yoga classes, and it's very competitive, and really this hard mindset, so I need to keep them. I can't let them go because this is something that might never come around again, right? Do you see how that's a scarcity mentality? And this is another thing that I don't know exactly if it's in the Yoga Sutras, I'll look, but I like to try to shift into an abundance mentality, right? So instead of thinking that the pie is half empty, right, or there's only one slice left, think that there's the whole pie for everyone, right? There's a lot of room at the top. There's a lot of space for great yoga teachers. There's a lot of space for great class slots. And when I started shifting into an abundance mentality instead of just being so scared about what I was losing, that really helped me realize that I was coming from a place of fear. And this is yoga, right? To step out of fear and into abundance, into presence. And making that mindset shift really helped me let go of these classes. And I'm not letting go of all of them, but I'm cutting back significantly. And now that I've made this decision, I feel lighter, I feel better, I feel more energized, and I actually feel more in alignment with what I want to be doing. So to take this back to you and whatever you're going through, right? Because we're really all going through the same things all the time. Attachment, non-attachment, fear, scarcity, stepping into abundance, making those shifts and being cognizant of them. I'd love for you to share in the comments if you have something that's similar, a similar situation, so that I can read it and comment and connect with you. And again, where have you either felt scared or lacking and been able to make a shift into abundance, or where have you just had a lot of attachment to something that was really great maybe once, but just is no longer serving you? I would love to hear from you. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And let me know what classes and what you want me to talk about or teach, because really this is all about you and me serving all of you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Make sure to jump over to brettlarkin.com, take my courses, get my free Yoga for Abs class, and from my heart to yours, namaste.